Welcome, guys, to the MMOs.com podcast, episode 113. This week, Altai here is joined by this guy.
Omer. And as usual, we will start with that wonderful weekly raid. Maybe recap last week's weekly raid, actually.
Yes, we will start by recapping last week's. That will be the new trend, hopefully, we don't forget. Mm-hmm. And last week, we talked about how you guys think MMORPGs should handle death penalties. And we were inspired by Albion, which was a new launch, where there's basically there's regions where you lose nothing for dying. There are regions where you lose some stuff for dying, like silver, and there's regions where you drop all your equipment upon death and inventory. So we were reminiscing about how games used to do it in the past, how games do it now, etc. And a lot of people in the comments, a lot of you mentioned RuneScape, which is another game that you drop everything when you die. This guy mentioned Mortal Online and how it actually did not do it well because this was a game where gear was too powerful. So what you would have is you would have high geared people just camping, right, and just killing people that are poorly geared. And so he was a bad experience for him. Another guy had a very similar experience to me in EverQuest, where he needed the help of a necromancer to find his body. That was interesting. So a lot of good discussion. You know, people left pretty in-depth experiences there.
I think one game that people didn't mention actually is Shea. It's an old school MMORPG through Area Games. It's actually, I think, one of their first MMORPGs. I think that game actually had a permadeath mode called Ultimate Mode. It was actually kind of cheesy because you'd actually get better rewards in if you're playing permadeath mode, right? So you're playing hardcore mode, you die again, your character's done, you're deleted, right? Everything you spent on your character, dead, gone. But you get better loot to make up for it. But it was kind of cheesy because if you died, like, a player could resurrect you, right? Like if you had a player in your party that could resurrect you within I guess X number of minutes, or you have a chance to reach out to the cash shop and buy like a self-res.
No.
But this was and the problem is it really cheapened like the whole hardcore experience if you can pay money to resurrect, right? Because if you tell yourself, if I don't spend this $5, whatever it costs to resurrect, you would actually end up losing like hundreds of hours of work. At that point, Area's got you by the balls, all right? You really squeezing your balls, and you're gonna buy the self-res.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Pay to live. That's a new genre.
Pay to live. But I don't think there's really that many MMORPGs with like permadeath. You know, we've seen hardcore mode in like Diablo and stuff, but that's not really a permadeath. That kind of takes you down from like, you know, from a hardcore character to a regular character. But beyond Shea, off the top of my head, I don't know any other permadeath MMORPGs.
I want to jump into a quick detail into that Diablo example. Diablo always had it where hardcore characters that die are dead, permanent, deleted. It's Path of Exile, which I think did the right innovation with that respect, where if you have a hardcore character, you're in your separate, server basically, your realm. If your character dies, you just get bumped down to standard mode. Mm-hmm. So everything with your carry and everything in your stash gets dragged down too. Otherwise, it'd be like an easy way to like you would just.
That's actually really cool, man.
Yeah, so I think Path of Exile had a pretty good system for the whole hardcore thing. Because imagine you get disconnected from like a thunderstorm, right, in Diablo 3. It's such BS to die that way, right? At least in Path of Exile, you keep your character, you keep your gear. It just gets bumped down to standard. So I think that was a good innovation.
It's a really good compromise between permadeath and otherwise. But are there any other MMORPGs that are permadeath, like actual permadeath?
Not MMORPGs, but some people mentioned Terraria has a mode where you either only draw. Oh, we got a sub. Thank you so much, Wacko.
Second month.
Thank
you, Wacko.
Oof, look at that. And the cat fell for you. So Terraria has a system where you can drop just money if you die. Mm-hmm. You can drop all your gear if you die. Or you can set it so your character gets deleted when you die. So it kind of gives players the option.
That's good. Mm-hmm. I do think other games can experiment with the idea of... I think a lot of people talk about permadeath. Like, I don't know how well it would work in practice in an MMORPG. Because, again, only one I've seen really do it was Shea. And not very few people rule hardcore characters anyway. But it'd be cool to see other games experiment with that idea. That's something that I think that's not really, done too much.
Another sub. DS Davids. Thank you so much.
Let's take it to this week's weekly raid.
All right. With that, yes. This week we are going to talk about how important is co-op for you. And this week we were inspired by the amazing, unseen by me at least, success of Fortnite. Fortnite was one of the first games I put a preview page up for on MMOs.com when we started the site, like I think 2 years ago, right? And by the time I put out that page, it had already been in development for like 4 years. So this game is 6 years in development, and finally it came out in early access for $40 minimum. And they even said at the time this game will be free to play still, because initially it was pitched as free to play. It will be free to play next year, 2018. Despite the fact that they said ahead of time this will go free to play next year, over 500,000 copies were sold in the first 24 hours.
That's pretty impressive. Holy crap.
Yeah, I did not see that kind of success coming for a game that was kind of stuck in development hell for, half a decade. So I was blown away, and now I'm trying to figure out what is it that this game did right? How did it get so much attention? And my explanation for that is the co-op. I think co-op is a woefully underserved market. It's in high demand. I always find myself every month searching on Google something like this: co-op games, like co-op adventure, co-op platformer. I'm always searching for a co-op game because there are groups of friends with which I cannot play competitive games because they're not competitive gamers. Like either they stopped gaming, years ago, or they never were big gamers. Whatever it is, I think co-op is so important because you can play with such a broad audience of friends. You can play with hardcore friends, the casuals. Just a random guy who shows up at your house. You can just play something simple. So I think Fortnite is really serving that niche. What do you think?
I think that the co-op element in Fortnite is not exclusive to I think you can have co-op elements in MMORPGs. Obviously, MMOs are online multiplayer games, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I feel like basically every MMORPG is very it's very backloaded. Like all that co-op content in MMORPGs that people really like is really at the end. Yeah. You want to do some real co-op content with your friends, FF14, lol, you aren't doing any of that shit until you're literally 100 hours into the game because it's all end game rating, savage content, extreme content, right? You can always do the regular dungeons and stuff, but it's not really at all challenging or really that fun. And basically every MMORPG is that co-op content really pushed towards the end, and the early content, as well as basically gain to max level, is basically all single player content. Really, you call it an MMORPG, but at no point in the process are you really doing things with other players. You're just doing your own thing, which I think is really unfortunate because you can see from Fortnite that co-op is amazingly successful. And I think that's actually one of the reasons you have games like Rust so successful. And even Dark and Light has a lot of players online right now. That's why survival games, I think, do really well. People play survival games with their friends. Yep. And being able to have that co-op experience, a meaningful co-op experience from literally the start of the game. The moment you jump into Rust, the first thing you always do is, okay, go find some hemp. Let's go build some sleeping bags. We can all spawn next to each other. People start playing together, building a base together, and they go through that co-op experience. I think MMORPGs have a lot to learn from really incorporating co-op elements into the early game, into the mid game, so people can feel like they're playing something with their friends. I played MapleStory with Rices, with Chaos Shield, and a couple of other friends on Discord, right? And it's an MMORPG, but we literally did nothing together. We were all in our own corner of the world, grinding our own portion of the map. In fact, we never really did one thing together. Because there's no point to. The game isn't meant for you to do stuff together, unfortunately.
I mean, I have a great MapleStory story as well. My brother and I both enjoy going back to MapleStory once in a while. And so I asked my girlfriend, do you want to try MapleStory with us? And she's like, yeah, I would love to play an MMO with you and, Omar. So we could all play together. I'm like, no. We're not actually going to be seeing each other for the first 30 hours, just heads up. And she's like, what? I don't want to play then. So the whole point of this massively multiplayer experience is lost on basically everyone in a lot of these games now, because you can literally go from, not only can you go, but it's encouraged to go from level 1 to max by yourself. It's actually optimal. It's faster to go by yourself. And it's not just MapleStory that does this. So many games today do this. Even World of Warcraft does this too. Where it's so much easier to solo level. And I think so much is lost on that. Instead of at least being neutral, they actually discourage co-op play, multiplayer play.
Mm-hmm. The least they can do is make it neutral. You would think that's the easy way to do it, but no, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there's one game off the top of my head that kind of did a decent job with that. Again, it's not a good way of doing it, but I thought they at least tried. If you look at Record of Lotus War Online, relatively new launch. It's not super successful. It's a very grindy game. At least when you party with your friends, right? You actually got more experience. If you have the more people you add to your party, the more bonus experience you get. And then you're like, holy shit, let's go play this game together and party and grind together. At least even if you're grinding, literally mindlessly grinding, which is the core gameplay in Record of Lotus War Online, literal mindless grind, at least you're doing it with your friends on the same screen. There's clearly something for that camaraderie and just being together. I mean, look, people play Rust, people play Fortnite, all these games are the co-op experience. We need that in MMORPGs. And I really don't can't think of any MMORPGs that did a good job with. I do want to say Bless. I thought it did a really good job with it, like because it had a lot of dungeons in the game that weren't like all the way late game. Like you get to level 20, right? You can do a dungeon with your friends, and those dungeons weren't like face roll easy. So you had to kind of adapt and learn and do things with your friends. And games that can at least do that, I think, do a good job of hooking people on pretty early. And I do want to say the dungeon experience in Bless, both the like level 20 and 30 dungeons we did, were some of the best like MMORPG experience I've had in a while, because it wasn't so late game that you could do it right away. And I thought it was really superbly done.
Yeah, and I think, different MMORPGs are finding different solutions to this, and that doesn't mean solo play can't be fun. A lot of games are fun solo. Like, I still enjoy MapleStory solo grinding, but the point is, I think a lot of people do want that co-op play, and it is an underserved market. Games like Left 4 Dead, Payday 2, when they made that free to play with the limited, it shot up so much on Steam, and I think the reason for that is because a co-op game like that, right? It's hard to get 4 people to buy a game. But if one guy tries it, if one friend gets a free copy and it's a good game, he can convince his friends to play with him, and then it kind of snowballs because you kind of need people to play with. So I think these games are woefully underserved. Whoever comes up with the next 4-player take on Left 4 Dead or Payday 2, the next take on that I think will sell really well. Only because, like I said, there's so many games not doing this right now.
And not just that, I think I want to see more and more RPGs incorporate that co-op experience to the first like 10 hours, 20 hours of the game. Mm-hmm. Players should have to wait 100 hours to play together. Yeah, and it's really unfortunate because like it's really bad. That's the one thing I don't like about MMORPGs. It's all basically solo play. If you look at the comments actually in the Twitch chat, people are saying like, I love grinding in Black Desert Online and want to do it with my friends, but it became so much slower, and it's actually 3 times faster to do it solo. So they're not only making it neutral, they're actually discouraging, group play. So basically, everyone splits up and does their own thing. And Black Desert is still a successful game, so this isn't like necessarily a make it or break it moment. But I think we can. I think almost everyone can agree though, having that kind of cooperative content that you have to actually work together with other people makes it easier to get into the game and get to that late game where they can do even more co-op content. Because people do say raiding and like just late game dungeons is some of the most fun like people have in MMORPG. Like, that's what you want to get to the late game for, that raiding content. Yep. You can have some like raiding light early on to at least make it fun.
Yep, definitely. I don't know what the perfect solution is because this is not a new problem. Even old school MMORPGs that we love, like whether it's Ultima Online, EverQuest, Star Wars Galaxies, depending on the class and race choices you made, you would start very far from your friends, and it could take a while to get together and kind of play together. So this is not one of those issues where it was solved before and people forgot, kind of like player housing, persistent. But
but EverQuest at least had like dungeons early on. Like you could do Blackborough, and you could do these dungeons. You need to go with other people to like go through these early dungeons. Like, it wasn't like a solo run through.
Right. And even just general grind in EverQuest required a party.
A bit more party play.
Yeah. So there were different fixes. So hopefully we'll see more games like Fortnite. I'm personally gonna wait for it to go free to play. Omar, I know you have some kind of early access copy, so.
Well, now we're actually talking about Fortnite. I do want to say I think it's a really solid game. I mean, it just feels really nice to play. Beautiful, really, really smooth, solid game. You want to play a co-op game with your friends, and it's a game that's you can play with pretty much anyone too. It's not too difficult to pick up and play, and the ease of being able to get into it, the fact that it's co-op makes it basically a guaranteed winner, big success.
So the way I hear this game described is it's a tower defense meets like third-person shooter. Is that fair, or how would you describe the game?
You also want to throw an Orcs Must Die in there because you can actually put down traps. Like basically the floor traps, the wall traps, and you can basically defend certain positions with it as well. So it basically tower defense meets first-person shooter. That sounds about accurate.
Okay, all right, cool.
Most of the kills you'll be getting yourself though, like with your own weapons.
Okay, so the traps are just a side thing.
Yeah, you can have them.
Okay.
It's not, most of your kills again will be coming basically on your own.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, it looks fun. I'm just still blown away. 500,000 copies, $40 a copy minimum, for a game that will be free to play within 12 months, or less. Like it just shows a level of pent up demand in this genre, I think.
I want to talk about Albion, but before we get there, we should probably mention the biggest news of the week, and I think what a lot of people are already aware of, but the Guild Wars 2 Path of Fire expansion. So I mean, I know you and I both watched the little announcement trailer video. What do you think so far about Path of Fire?
Well, let me just put that on real quick so that people can see. So this will be Guild Wars' second expansion. And from the name, I'm getting some kind of desert vibes from it, right? Like the.
Well, yes, they're adding the desert from Guild Wars 1 into the game. Like they're adding 2 areas from Guild Wars 1 into the new game. The desert area from the base game, and also from Nightfall, a place called Ilona. So I never played Nightfall personally. I played the OG Guild Wars, but I've never played any of the expansions actually.
Yeah, same here. I played the original, but not the expansions for Guild Wars 1. This will cost, I believe, what, $40 or $50?
50 if you want to get the expansion bundled with it, like the old the Heart of Thorns.
Yeah, so if you want Heart of Thorns and this expansion, it's 50. Otherwise, if you already have Heart of Thorns, it's only what, 40, right?
30.
Okay.
I was kind of hoping you'd get the Heart of. I was kind of hoping they made it $30 and Heart of Thorns came free at that. Like they just made Heart of Thorns free to play. That was my like, I was hoping they'd do that, but rip, they didn't.
Well, luckily we have Heart of Thorns, so
yeah,
it's only 30 for us.
The problem is too, it's kind of annoying because you can buy Heart of Thorns right now, like the base price of 13, right? $30 rather for Heart of Thorns now, but it went on sale several times at 50% off. So if you bought the base game before for 15, rather the Heart of Thorns with $15, and buy this separately for 30, like it's cheaper than buying the bundle together with the expansion. I think the pricing just seems a little iffy because of that, because you could have had it on sale for $15. So 15 plus 30 should be 45 for the bundle together. I think they should make the bundle together 45 for that reason.
Okay, so you had preferred $30 and 45.
Yeah, because again, the Heart of Thorns was for sale for several times for 50% off, and at that 15 price tag.
You know what I liked about this whole reveal? They announced the announcement date ahead of time. So
that was so dumb. Yeah.
They made 2 news stories out of this. It's pretty funny. So first they announced that August 1st would be the announcement, and then today was the announcement.
They should have said, okay, there's an announcement happening on this day, and let people speculate if it's Guild Wars 2, if it's maybe some other ArenaNet game. Let the speculation build up. But no, they said we're announcing an expansion, tomorrow or in a couple of days.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
It would have been more fun. I haven't played Guild Wars 2 personally in a while, but I do think Guild Wars 2 is one of those games that's very like almost universally loved by at least our MMORPG. I see the appeal, but it was never a game I played that much. I played it for a while, but I couldn't get into it for whatever reason. But like for some reason, this game is universally loved. I'm curious what people in the chat think about Guild Wars 2 as well.
Well, this is a great opportunity for us to go back and try it. Also, we were just talking about co-op, right? One thing that Guild Wars 2 does, makes really easy is co-op.
There you go.
Yes, because it's got that whole what do they call it? The auto leveling. So whatever zone you're in, your character would be upgraded or demoted in like strength, level wise at least, to match that zone. So basically, even if you're level 1 or 50 or whatever it is, if you're with your friends, you'll be the same level as them in the zone you guys are at. So it makes it a lot easier to kind of quest in if the questing is easy. There's no like quest NPC really. It's like, at least it's not too far away. There's like regional quests for each area of the map. So you basically qualify for all the quests. So you could be like a northern race and go to the south where the desert is, and you can apply for all the quests there, play with your friends, and be the same level as them. So that's fun.
Was Guild Wars 2 the one that pioneered that? Because like we've seen that being used in ESO as well, and I think a few other games have done it since then. But I think ESO, Guild Wars 2 might have been the first one. I'm not sure.
I want to say yes. At least to do it basically like globally. Like it did it everywhere. I know even like a lot of games do it like in certain areas now and stuff. But this is the first one to do it globally.
Yeah. The cool thing too, you'll be able to check out all the new content, at least explore the world of the Guild Wars 2 expansion on August 10th to 13th. There's that free weekend. As long as your account never got banned, there's any issues with it. Though they're going to be showing off that content pretty early on, so people can see it real soon. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I look forward to trying this one. Do we have a release date?
Yeah, it's September, I think. Let me take a look. I put up the news earlier today. Yeah, September 22nd it's launching. So cool. It's from announcement to launch is like not that long. It's like less than 2 months. So I do like that as well.
I like that. Yep.
What's cool is we literally heard nothing about an expansion. Everybody knew there was one coming, but like nope, they didn't really say too much. And then boom, they announced it. Boom, it's happening in 2 months. That's awesome.
I mean, that's the way to do it. You can't just tell people about it for 5 years and just lose hype.
We had a pretty lengthy discussion about that, whether games shouldn't do that. Announce the game and then come out like 6-7 years later. Like look at FF13, you know, FF15 rather.
15,
too. FF15 took like God knows how many years to happen, and it didn't stop the sales. It sold like incredibly well. But we see a lot of MMORPGs end up doing stuff like this as well. But you not always. No, it never happens with expansions. Just like, you know, the base games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to take it also to Albion. Albion has some pretty big news, and I'm curious what you think about the change in Albion Online. It's actually pretty polarizing right now. So we talked a lot about Albion last week as well, but they made a pretty big change to the game's PvP this week. And oh my God, the accusations of Care Bear Land are flying on the Albion Online subreddit. So I don't think you've heard about this yet. I just put it up. Basically, I gave you the link for it. Mm-hmm. Dismounting now applies a debuff that means for 3 seconds you cannot attack other players. And what this does is actually, it seems subtle at first, but look at the video at the news post, and it's like a 30-second video showing the effect of this new change in action.
All right, let me pop this up, see what's going on. All right, so this guy's gathering some stuff.
And he's gathering in a dangerous zone where people can attack him. Okay,
so then, he mounts up while they're still unmounting, and then he runs away.
Yep, basically that. And you can see how poor, he didn't even, he messed around a few clicks, he misclicked a couple times. It doesn't matter. He just casually walked away.
So it's a lot harder to gank people now. Unless of course, you sneak up on them without being mounted.
Yeah, but he can see you coming and just mount up and run away. You know, there's that distance where you can see other players. So what happens is, and this guy is laughing like, haha, look at working exactly as intended. How he's laughing. You feel like he probably should have died at that point too. Oh. And a lot of people are upset because they're saying like, basically 6 people can't even kill 1 person now, and solo gathering in Albion Online is becoming pretty safe. So there's a graphic somebody posted on our Albion Online about a different strat. The do's and don'ts of ganking people now. And if you come at somebody from surrounding them, they can actually have a more effective way of killing them. But people are basically saying, well, some people, again, you can see from my screenshot there with the patch notes, it was a fun game while it lasted, implying that Albion Online is dead because of this change.
Okay.
So ultimately, they are making it more. People are saying the Care Bear accusations are flying. There's funny gifts. A lot of the people that would zerg and gank people all day in Albion are really pissed off that they can't do it so easily anymore.
Okay, so like you said, and correctly, this is my first time hearing about it. So while I have to see it in action to have a fully fair assessment, my initial...
You just saw in action that one guy just walked away from 6 people with no risk.
My initial thought is fine. Here's why. You don't have to be mounted when you're looking for your target, okay? You could... I guess maybe what this picture is trying to show with the do's and don'ts is you could ride around and then you could unmount, like near your target, right? And then walk up to them and hit them.
No, well, yes, if you're fully surrounded that way, yes, he has no way to escape. And
you don't have to surround him. If you auto attack him once, he can't mount, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But he can mount before you attack him, because you can see him coming from further away. His name appears from a distance. It takes 2 seconds to mount up. So the defense is, no matter what, like you can just mount up when you see somebody. So it's not like they can just run at you then, unless like you're at half AFK, and they can. The guy in the video too actually really played poorly. He misclicked 3 times. It took a while to get on his mount. It didn't matter. He was safe because it's 3 full seconds before they can attack you.
Well, okay. Also, remember when people are mounted, you can still attack them and dismount. So like if you ever got a group of people like this chart is showing, the trick might be one guy to herd somebody into a trap, And
it's not just one click to dismount them. You did them multiple times to dismount, and depending on their tier of horse, you need like 5 guys hit them to dismount.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily as easy as you say. And people are saying now that like I'm able to gather in black zones perfectly fine by myself. It's almost no risk.
Okay, so I guess people the feedback I think will be important because this is going back a long time. In Ultima Online, a lot of private servers actually banned mounts. The original Ultima Online to this day still has mounts, and obviously you move a lot faster when you're mounted. And for PvP reasons, many people on the private server scene, they kind of just flat out ban mounts because they don't want it makes PvP unbalanced, because basically with mounts in Ultima Online, anybody can run away from anybody. You can just hold right click and you'll just fly across the screen. So I'm not a big fan of mounts like that. I'm not a fan of mounted and unmounted dynamics in PvP games for this reason, right? Because a group of mounted people can just wreck somebody who's unmounted. Albion seems to be threading a pretty interesting line. Again, to me, so far it seems fine. But if people are claiming that they personally feel no threat mining solo in a open zone, yeah, there's a problem. So maybe
the other side was a lot of, people are like, oh my god, this saved the game. Before I would just go basically resource gathering and get killed by 15 people like over and over again. It's also one of those situations where the people that are zerging and ganking you are basically taking low risk for high reward, or at least some reward, because if you're traveling with a big group of people, you can basically pretty much guarantee a kill prior. But now, it's much, much harder to actually... Again, you could adapt your strategies and have it, again, to surround somebody in such a way that they can't escape necessarily. Yeah. But it does shift the burden a lot to the gankers to really, go full tryhard to get you.
I'm okay with that. Like I said, I think they have to tweak it based on the feedback and what they're seeing. But the concept of a delay when you dismount to attack another player, that concept is fine. Now, whether it should be 3 seconds or 2 seconds or like 1 point, whatever, that part I'm not certain on. But I think Albion is doing a great job kind of threading that line between hardcore and still accessible. They do a lot of features. One thing they do is if you're in an open PvP map, if there's a group of players that's above a certain number, right? I forgot what the number is, but basically, if there's a gank squad somewhere on the map, the mini map will actually show a red circle, like a warning, like there's a group of players here, like concentrated, so you can see Zerg squads kind of coming on the map, like a little bit of a warning, which I think is amazing, because otherwise, a group of 5-6 players who are organized can just like wreck the time of everyone else, because even they can wreck 100 people's time, because if 100 people are playing solo, and a group of 5 can just kind of meander around the map, killing them all one by one. So,
well, the thing was, it was always supposed to be a risky thing to be gathering in black zones or red zones. It was supposed to be a high risk, high reward play. Maybe if you want to gather, you need people guarding you. Go with friends, go with other people, or just be really sneaky. That was like so I think, I don't think it's going to break the game or ruin the game. They have to find the balance between whether it's maybe 3 seconds might be too much, maybe they got to change it, maybe make it 1 second even, but it clearly is catering and punishing the people that were ganking. That.
Yes, but those people we need to control those people, because they can't be the only ones we cater to. Because
of course.
So many open PvP games fall apart because you have a small but organized group of just the gankers, the killers, and they kind of drive everyone else away. So the playing field should be uneven, because the PvP players, I think they want a challenge anyway, right? Maybe that's not the best way to create the challenge, but I do think they need to be disadvantaged. And so what do you think of the Albion system, where it kind of telegraphs where there's a large group of players? I think it's a great idea.
I think it's really smart as well. And stuff like that, I think they can work around like the edges without making it possible. I think a lot of people are saying too, with this change, it becomes literally impossible. Even if you fully surround them, it becomes impossible. They just run past it anyway. The only way some people are saying that the only way to actually guarantee a kill is to literally lock down the entire zone, have like 20 people at every exit, and kill them that way. This might be taking it too far to the other direction. I think a lot of people are also fascinated with Albion Online because it's it does have the full loop, and the full loop PvP is a concept that's been tried in the past and never really panned out to be too successful. But this is a game that's trying it again, and it's doing really well. It's a different experience. And, I've played Albion for quite a bit already, and I do like that it's different. The full loop adds, I think, a lot to the game. So, and I think that they thought of a lot of good systems to kind of encourage the economy as well, because even though it's full loot, if you kill somebody, some of their gear gets trashed, so it's not actually lootable. So if you had a sword, it might randomly become trash, and the guy that kills you won't be able to get it. And the purpose of that system is ingenious. It actually ensures that there's a constant demand for new weapons and gear, because even if you kill somebody, their gear could potentially disappear and has to be reintroduced to the economy by crafters. There's always a nice, demand for constantly crafted gear, which I think it keeps it all very healthy, and they clearly thought about that too. So they got to tweak the system a bit and hopefully get to a happy medium, I guess. Because I agree, you can't just cater to the hardcore PvPers, but you can't go the other direction either. It becomes so difficult to kill them.
Yeah, and I think Albion is at least experimenting, and I do approve their philosophy at least of kind of balancing it this way. Here's another interesting balance they have in yellow zones. If you are flagged for PvP, which allows you to attack other players, you actually do less damage, right?
Yep.
So you're
that's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I think.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So if you have 2 or 3 friends and you're trying to gank some guys in a yellow zone, you're going to be at a disadvantage, because you get the advantage of jumping on them, right? Because they don't probably expect to be killed in a yellow zone, but at the same time there's a trade-off. So I do think these kind of, I don't know what you call them, but these kind of balancing slash tweaks are what we need in this kind of game. Otherwise, it's too easy for the hardcore organized guilds to just kind of run rampant and drive all the casuals out of the game, which you can't do because then the game dies.
What do you think about this then? People are saying this change actually makes it near impossible for solo PvP. Because let's say you're basically gathering yourself, and I want to kill you by just me, right? Yeah. I run up to you. There's literally nothing I can do to stop you from going on your horse. Because the second I see you, you see me as well. And there's always time to go on your horse, even if I'm already mounted or dismounted. There's literally zero chance. We're talking literally zero for me to kill you.
Is that true? We gotta try it because there are some moves that speed you up or jump. Remember the archer we were fighting? They like back jumped away from us?
But let's say you're running towards. I can see you on my HUD before you're even within range to attack me. Mm-hmm. I click on my horse, now on my horse, and I'm running. What do you do? You can never catch me unless you're on a horse as well. Oh wait, you're on a horse? Now now we're both on a horse. You can't catch me either. Before you could run up to them like on a horse, and then as soon as they mount up, you can dismount and hit them, and then at least while they're on the horse, they get slowed. Then maybe you can slow them enough, you can catch them. And actually, somebody asked the devs about this problem, and one of the devs responded, "Solo PP was never really intended in the first place."
Wow, that's pretty.
That was essentially their. Mm-hmm. So that just seems like that's going to make that job a lot harder too.
Yeah, I don't know. What's wrong with solo PvP? They should definitely allow that and.
But they allow it, just not the focus of the game.
Yeah, I get it, but they should definitely the system should be broad enough to allow that, in terms of allow it to succeed. So
I just think the discussion is really interesting in Albion Online because we're seeing that push pull between how hardcore should the game be, because clearly they intended from the beginning to be very hardcore, and this is like giving an inch, And I think a lot of the PvPers and the hardcore, people that want to play a sandbox game like Albion, the way it was intended, the hardcore experience, are seeing this as the second you give them an inch, they're going to take the whole thing. They're worried it's going to go the way maybe Ultima did with the introduction of Trammel. It just that's I think what the problem is.
Shneo, thank you for the sub there, the Twitch Prime or Amazon Prime. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, we got to see. So far, it's very successful. And unfortunately, I think if you leave it the way it is now, or the way it was before this kind of fix, I think the casuals would be driven out once they get to that. See, here's the thing: let's say 100% of the population, right? When they all get to the point where they have to start venturing to red zones, I think there's going to be, if it wasn't for something like this, there was going to be a huge drop off of players. Okay, because it's not fair to lose to 8 guys. And you can tell, well, you shouldn't be gathering alone. You should have 3 guys standing guard while you gather rocks all day. That's not realistic. That's not how it works. Nobody. I come back from work. I'm fixing some pipes for a living, and I want to just relax and play some Albion. And then you're telling me, I'm playing. I'm mining some rocks. 8 12-year-olds show up and kill me. All right, and whoa, you should have been playing with 12 of your friends and standing around while you mine rocks. That's not a sell to somebody. Who just wants to play casually.
But they're not trying to sell to that guy. It's clear that the game has an audience that's different than maybe a game like WoW or Final Fantasy 14 that will appeal to somebody like you who just wants to come from work and do his own thing, right? It's not fair to say you deserve to kind of be accommodated in literally everything you do. That's a nonsensical argument. The game isn't for you.
No, but you can't say a product is not for that person. You have to offer him a limited part of the game.
No, right? You don't.
I think Albion wants to offer that guy.
Well, clearly they do, but you can't just demand that every game accommodates every single person.
Well, it's not him demanding it. He'll just leave if it's not. And I think the Albion developers realize this, and they're trying to cater. They want his money, where his money is just as green as your money. It's not like your money's worth more than their money.
But again, I think what really set Albion apart and what I really loved about the game, and I still enjoy Albion a lot. I don't think it's going to kill the game either, and they're going to make some tweaks to it, obviously. But is the fact that it really did venture to do this hardcore experience. In a world, we don't see this anymore. Almost no game has the hardcore, element that, that Albion has. You have games like Mortal Online and stuff, but these are very obscure, not very popular games.
Oh, exactly. So Albion doesn't want to fall into that trap.
But it hasn't been in that trap. It's doing really well.
It just launched. Give it a minute.
I know. Give it a minute.
Because I said, I bet you so many people playing today are playing in green zones and yellow zones, right? Because that's just where their current progression has taken them, right? They're mining the tier 3 and tier 4 elements. But once they progress their skill tree to where they need to start going to red areas to progress, a lot of them are going to drop off if, like I said, if it's they just permanently get camped by these groups of players.
Also, somebody mentioned Tibia as well as a full loot MMORPG, and that game is actually doing really well. It's nowhere near as obscure as stuff like Mortal Online. Pretty sure that game has still got tens of thousands of players online, over 10,000 players online. Let me look at it right now. 12,000 players online right now. It's full loot everywhere. And somebody actually made a good observation as well, that except casuals abandon the game, so catering to casuals always kills the game. And I think a lot of casuals do hop a lot between games.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
The people that are really into Albion are a lot of the people that, if they're not PKing, right? If they're not in the Zerg squad, they want to be in that position anyway. Like when I got killed by like 5 people, I'm like, holy shit, I want to do that to somebody else, It's like, it's always you aspiring to be the douchebag if you're not the douchebag now. In a game like Albion where you have full loop PvP. So I do think you kind of do, you can't always cater to the casual, and you want to kind of focus on your strengths as well. I do think Albion's strength is that it's doing something different. And the moment it stops being something different, or it becomes like another, traditional MMORPG with Care Bear mechanics, it's going to lose its allure. I mean, the game doesn't have great graphics to begin with. It doesn't have amazing dungeons or anything like that. No, the cool mechanics in the game are the full loot, are the PvP and the guild, guild territory control stuff.
But at the same time, I think it's very clear by the choices they made, which you described, whether it's the poor graphics and the mobile interplay. I think it's very clear they do want a broad game, broad audience. They're clear. If they didn't want a broad audience, they would have made the graphics look better, first of all. Right? So they do want the casual, I think, the casual miner, the solo miner, the solo craft. They want those people as part of the ecosystem. And you're right. They shouldn't cater to them specifically. But you got to give them something to do. And that's the beauty of MMORPGs. I think MMORPGs should be played by different players in different ways. So, for example, in EVE Online, to this day, the majority of players don't leave high security space. Okay? So what this means is, even in EVE, which by the way doesn't have any of this stuff that we described, right? There's no like delay when you can attack them in nullsec. Even there, it's mostly casuals who don't want a PvP, right? Even in a full loot open PvP game, most players don't want a PvP. Ever. Period. So with that said, so you have to allow them to play their way without,
But you can do that without undermining the core principles of your game, which is the argument that this is doing. Let's say, why do they have to go to red zones or black zones? Higher tier resources, right? Why not just add very rare high tier resource nodes in yellow zones?
Well, okay, so a good compromise.
Problem fixed.
A good compromise would be maybe don't allow this. Allow this 3-second no attack after dismounting in red, but not black. How about that?
That is a good compromise, I think. Actually, that's a really good compromise because at least, it would still give an area of the game where they can do that. But I would still argue a better solution would be to give, put some of the higher tier resource nodes in yellow zones, which are again basically taking no risk over there. Add them there, make them rare, or no. So they're always farmed. Oh, you want to get the better shit? Go risk yourself for it. But again, yours is still a better compromise than I think what they did today.
Yeah, and again, look, I think they're learning. They clearly observed too much gank squad activity in red, and like you were saying, Omar, with the hardcore guild people, let them have the black regions. At least allow the red zone to be like this, where you have to always be on your toes. Because if I'm drinking coffee while mining, maybe I won't have time to put my glass down and mount. I'll be dead. So you have to at least always be paying attention, even if you have a 3-second window to go. So that would be my compromise. I solved the problem. Thank you, Albion. Please give me.
There you go. Albion Online, we just solved. MMOs.com just solved your problem. Send a check payable to MMOs.com.
That's right.
Sounds good. But again, what I really like about Albion is that it's something different. I've played so many Korean MMORPGs, and this is one of the first big, at least somewhat big Western MMORPGs we've had in a while. What else have we had recently? Besides maybe ESO?
Yeah, ESO. Morrowind.
But that's already been a few years since that came out.
Well, Guild Wars, does that count as Western? It's developed by a Western company, even though it's owned by...
And yeah, it's owned by the Koreans. But then, what about players? Well, Player Unknown is not an MMO, right?
Yeah.
But would you consider that a Western developed game? It's Bluehole, but the lead designer was Brendan Green, Player Unknown.
I mean, I would say it's an Asian developed game, even though it plays a lot like a Western game.
Yeah. But yeah, it's one of the only MMORPGs that came out from a Western studio in a long time, and I think it's phenomenal. If you haven't played it yet, maybe wait for. They should have a free trial too, because I think it's a game that would really benefit from that, because it may not appeal to everyone.
Yeah, I think they had a great launch, and I think they will eventually offer a free trial, free to play version, etc.
And speaking of East versus West, I know you did a stream this Friday about East versus West, and I want to talk a little bit about a Black Squad. So, what 2 games did you play?
Okay, so last Friday while you were gone, I took the opportunity to try Lawbreakers again, which is an open beta now, or was at least. I played that for about 30-40 minutes, and then I played Black Squad for 30-40 minutes because it was also pretty new on Steam. And this one wasn't just an open beta. It was just a free-to-play game overall. So I played both. Personally, someone in chat mentioned this. So my goal was to play one for 30 minutes, another for 30 minutes, right? But I actually ended up playing Black Shot for way more than 30 minutes Black Squad because I was enjoying it, right? And then someone mentioned, hey, you played this longer. Does that mean you like this better? I'm like, oh, I got to be fair, you know? So I went back to Lawbreakers a little. Then I dropped in chat a straw poll, like a vote, on what game won or would you rather play. And the winner, surprisingly for me, was Black Squad. People liked Black Squad more than Lawbreakers.
Okay, so people are saying Black Squad is trash, but somebody said Black Squad is fun trash. I want to jump in here for a second. I want to say that Black Squad literally offers nothing new to the genre. It's the same rehashed Korean lobby-based shooter crap we've had since Combat Arms, AVA, Black Shot. Black Shot is different than Black Squad.
Yes.
There are literally dozens of games like this, right? But despite that, I had fun playing it, and it's a game I would just be like, let's play this random game. I'll link to my friends and we'll all download it on Steam and play it. We'll play for a while and have fun. Despite the fact that it offers literally nothing new, I thought it was kind of fun too. And what's surprising to me is that if you look at the concurrent players right now for Black Squad, it's actually not bad at all. They hit about 13K concurrent players, and it's been hitting like 10K during the day. If you look at Lawbreakers on the other hand, it peaked at 4,500, and the peak kept going lower and lower. The player drop-off rate in Lawbreakers seems to be incredibly high already, which makes me think it's not going to do so well.
Yeah, one of the complaints first of all, Lawbreakers is going to cost $30, while Black Squad is free. So I asked people voting to kind of take that into mind as they voted. So that made a clear difference, I think. Number 2, as I was playing Lawbreakers, a word I used was disorienting. The experience was disorienting. And somebody in the chat at the time agreed with me. That was a good word. Apt description of the game. Whereas Black Squad is kind of at the pace we're used to for like a tactical shooter, Counter-Strike speed. Whereas Lawbreakers is more like the old school Quake Unreal speed, where everyone's jumping around, everyone's flying, there's rockets flying everywhere, which can be fun. But maybe I'm old now. I don't know what it is exactly. But it just felt like the learning curve is much higher. Let's just say that.
But I think, flying around is, we've seen arena shooters like Quake Live or Quake 3, right? I thought they did pretty well. But then again, or if you compare it to maybe Tribes is a little bit really fast-paced as well, so it's a bit different. I thought Quake was a good way of doing it. And I played, Quake Champions, and I think that felt disorienting. I didn't like Quake Champions either because the whole, they designed this stupid class system. Every character's got different, stats and special abilities, and I thought it was garbage. If they just made every character have the same stats and get rid of the stupid abilities, I thought the game would be really fun. But I didn't really like Lawbreakers either. I've tried it on multiple occasions. The game runs well. It's well optimized, because I know the first time I played it was poorly optimized, but now it runs buttery smooth. But I don't know. It didn't do it for me. And even though Black Squad is literally the most generic Korean shooter, offers nothing new, I thought it was pretty fun. It's free. You can play for a couple hours easy with your friends and have a blast doing it. So, sadly, I would vote, Black Squad too, because at least Lawbreakers is trying to do something different. It's trying to be an arena shooter, some different kind of shooter. But I think it's gonna be a big flop, honestly. And they're really pushing it too. Like we've seen, it's Nexon is the publisher. I think they own a piece of Ballsky or something too. But they're gonna be launching it in consoles as well. And I think they're gonna probably pay a lot of Twitch streamers to stream it too. And I don't think it's going to save it. I don't know. Just looking at the player base on Steam charts is how quickly it drops off during the 3-day beta. Shows you that people don't like it.
Yeah, and Lawbreakers is actually another game. I think we played it like a year ago, right? So it's kind of been in this development phase for a while, this closed beta alpha phase.
It's actually happening, though. Yeah.
It is happening. We're very close to launch. It's going to launch, I believe, on the 8th of August.
Yep.
$30. It's hard. It's going to be hard for people to rope their friends in because one, the barrier, the $30 barrier, the high system requirements, and the size. The game is 35 gigs. It's pretty big for a shooter. PUBG is only by comparison 7 gigs.
You know, that's fine. When we talk about file size for these games, when I try to vote my friends into playing War Mode, I always tell them like, fun per megabyte, War Mode is god tier because it's like 150 megabytes or something. All right, I build War Mode as like the best shooter because of that. But then my friend says, no, fun per megabyte is Pong. All right, the game is like less than it's a couple of kilobytes probably. So
that's an amazing metric for games. Fun per megabyte.
Yeah, I agree. Like, some games are like 40 GB and it's like, fuck, I don't want to wait, download all that shit. Yeah, we should have a fun per MB metric on MMOs.com, all right?
To some extent, it's important. I mean, I was shocked when I started downloading Lawbreakers. I'm like, what? I got to download 30 gigs for this, stream on Friday? Whatever. And it is a big deal, especially in many parts of the world. In America, maybe it doesn't matter because we have decent internet. But there are lots of places in the world, including Turkey, which where we spend a few months of the year. It's not as easy to just justify a wallop of a download like that because you are capped every month in many places in the world. So that's going to be an issue.
Including New Zealand and Australia. So it's not just like obscure countries. These.
It's not just poverty-ridden places like Turkey.
Yeah, I'm trying to say it's an issue in like real countries too, like wealthy countries where they do limit your data.
Yeah, so maybe that's why these Korean shooters do so well. They're kind of easy to digest,
Yeah. Price per megabyte, that's key.
There you go. Fun per megabyte.
All right, we got to get to my favorite bit of news for this week. You linked this to me last night. I thought, holy shit, is this real? And it's about World of Warcraft and the game's in-game currency being worth more than Venezuelan currency. So take it away.
Yeah, so last night I stumbled across this article, and I just had to put it up before going to bed. Basically, as some of you may or may not know, Venezuela this year is fallen into massive chaos. There's a huge economic, political issues in that country, and the price of their currency compared to the other currencies, like especially the US dollar, has been falling rapidly, especially in the last 2 months. So to kind of take this article in backwards order, in May of this year, so today is August 1st, so that's 2 months ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
$1 would have cost you 279 of the local Bolivar. So 279 Bolivars is $1 in May. Today, it costs 11,000 Bolivars to get $1. Now, to put that in gaming perspective, World of Warcraft Gold, it costs about 8,000 gold in World of Warcraft per $1. So what this means is that the gold in World of Warcraft per unit is more valuable than the national currency of Venezuela.
That's pretty incredible. Like,
I love that story.
You're farming gold in World of Warcraft, and all the gold you get is literally worth more than the 1 unit of their current national currency. And it's actually getting worse than Venezuela. I think if you look at the dollar today, it's up to like 12,000.
Yeah, every day it's getting worse, guys. And the speed of decay is amazing. Just in May, like I said, 280 in May. Now it's 11,000. So it's getting way worse there. And the real takeaway from this story, guys, is always store your value in WoW Gold. All right, it'll serve you well if there's a communist uprising.
What's actually pretty crazy too is like in Venezuela, a lot of the people that work for the government, they get paid in local currency. They get paid in bolivars, and I think that there's an official rate and an unofficial rate of exchange. The official rate is very peachy. It says maybe like a couple hundred bolivars per dollar, and the real rate is like tens of thousands. So you get paid the official exchange rate. So there's a lot of like teachers and people that work for the government. They get paid like literally pennies per month because of how worthless the currency is, and they'd actually be making more money not teaching or staying home from work and playing World of Warcraft at that point. All right, so some of the government workers can make a lot more money playing WoW, farming gold, and being at work because they're getting literally paid like dollars per month.
Well, I don't know how true this is, right? Because it's Reddit. There's a Reddit post about the story, and somebody in chat claims to be from Venezuela, and he says, "I'm actually a gold seller in WoW, and this has been great for me because the thing I'm doing for my job is getting more valuable because I don't know if you guys knew this, but Destiny 2 can be purchased with WoW Gold since it's going to be on the WoW launcher, the Blizzard launcher, right? So there's actually been increased demand for WoW Gold. So the price of WoW Gold has actually been slightly increasing, whereas the Bolivar has been dropping. So the unit of money he uses to live is dropping value, while what he's doing for a living is increasing value. So he's getting way better off in his country.
It's pretty crazy. Pretty. I mean, obviously, it's a pretty sad situation over there with how bad it's getting. There's actually a guy on our Discord as well from Venezuela.
Yeah, that's the main. Yeah, the main point of the story is to show you how bad things are in Venezuela. Don't actually buy WoW Gold.
It is not a good store value.
Yeah, not a good store value. Slightly better than Venezuela and Bolivar, but that's not saying much. And the story initially came from a Venezuelan Twitter user, and I embedded his little tweet here. He used some Jewish-looking duck holding silver coins as his as his picture here. But yeah, so that is the story of Venezuela. Socialism, boys. Not even once. Don't do it.
Stay away. Stay away. I guess some of the big news or big happening this week is with Shroud the Avatar. I know we talked a lot about Shroud the Avatar as well, but I do want to say too, at least like people have said it was a big disappointment for them, and we were talking about Western MMORPGs. They really are. This is another Western MMORPG that's I guess somewhat recent. That's at least like in some form of playable state right now. So it and it is doing a lot different, right? We praised it for being different, but this game right now, they announced a deal with Travian Games to publish their game in Europe, which is a lot to see Travian Games becoming a publisher now, because Travian Games is the company that literally makes that like strategy game Travian. Personally, I think it's an awful game. It's almost any one of those mobile or browser-based strategy games. They're all pay to win, and I think they're all pretty bad. But the company that makes that has like 200 plus employees, and apparently they're big enough to be a game publisher now, because they'll be publishing Crowfall as well as Shroud the Avatar now in Europe.
Dude, how can you say the game that's running this beautiful game I'm showing, the company running the beautiful game I'm showing, how can you say they're a bad game developer? Look at this beautiful.
I want to see. Keep showing it off. Look at these quality graphics.
This is a screenshot right from Travian, boys.
This game makes literally like probably like over $50 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, all these strategy games like Game of War, Clash of Clans, they got their start with browser games, and Travian was one of the first adopters to this strategy genre, and because they were first, they made so much money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're minting money.
And what I found interesting is Crowfall actually lists the money they got from Travian, right?
Mm-hmm.
As part of their little. Okay, so here we go. I'm showing right now the Crowfall funding sources. So licensing. Mm-hmm. That probably just means Travian's licensing deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Travian paid them $2 million for the right to publish Crowfall.
Wow.
In Europe. Now do we know exactly what Shroud the Avatar got?
No, they didn't announce any kind of money on that.
I figured not. So we have to use this as like a baseline. So my guess is they probably got around 2 million, because
I'm gonna say 1 million. I think like you play Shroud the Avatar, you're like, it's not worth $1 million. All right. Somebody in our chat said, like I played Shroud the Avatar for a couple hours, and everything was just clunky and felt kind of weird and random. And honestly, the interface and the way it's presented, like I think there's a lot of cool things in Shroud the Avatar, like the open-ended gameplay, the skill system, a lot of cool things. But it's just like it doesn't give players enough direction. Like the new players especially need something like know where to go, what to do, while still having some open-ended feel to it. And the interface is really ugly. And obviously the game isn't done yet, so you can't fully judge it on that. Mm-hmm. But I think it needs a lot of work.
Yeah, it just felt disorienting. There's that word again. Shroud the Avatar. I felt disoriented in that game as well.
And people are saying it's a catastrophic failure. Poor Richard Garriott. He still believes in Shroud the Avatar here. But if Crowfall got 2 million, I'd say Shroud the Avatar probably got 1 million. I feel like there's more hype. But what are you guys more hyped for, Crowfall or Shroud the Avatar? I think for sure people are gonna say Crowfall.
For me, Crowfall.
Yeah.
But I actually watched an interesting 30-minute video with Lord British just today, just like an hour ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he's actually pretty cool in Shroud of the Avatar. What he'll do when he logs in, first of all, he accepts all friend invites that come towards him, right? Mm-hmm. In his own game. What he'll do is he'll randomly scroll through the friend list, then he'll teleport to a player who's online and just kind of like hang out with them, like do a quest with them, hunt with them. So it's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. If you play Shroud of the Avatar, you have a chance to interact with the guy who runs the studio behind it. So that's pretty cool. He's involved.
Yeah, and that actually shows some interesting dedication. At least one of the guys in our Discord chat as well, Zim, he's a fun guy. He was telling me that he met up with Lord British that way. Richard Garriott. He ran them in the game in that similar fashion, and they hung out. They talked for a while. I think he ended up saying like, "Will the value of my in-game silver go up or down?" Because like there's a real world economy there too. he's got like $200 worth of in-game silver. So he's like, I don't follow the real world marketplace. So he couldn't give any advice on that. But you actually got to see the guy that made the game, the founder of the company, actually being in your game. And that's like a level of involvement we really don't see, in most MMORPGs, period, right? Really, any online game, really. You'll see them on the forums, often like developers and stuff, and, they'll communicate with you, right? But very rarely will you ever get a chance to meet them in the game itself.
I actually have a really interesting story. I don't know if we told this before. So in Lord Bridges' first MMORPG that we both played, Ultima Online, when you called for a GM, right? If you had a customer support ticket, the way it works today is you leave a ticket and then they either PM you back in chat or you get an email, right? To try to solve your customer service problem. The way it worked in Ultima Online was, you submit a ticket with a question and you wait some time, and then like as you're playing the game, like you're hunting or you're in your house or you're in town, like lightning strikes from the sky, and the GM appears before you in like a special outfit that only they get, right? And they literally just talk to you in the game, like one-on-one, like they're a character you're interacting with, and I thought that was so cool. Like there's a fact that you can do that, and obviously today that's gone. There's none of that today.
It made it seem like more like personal and interesting because they literally appeared in front of you. When you saw that, you were like kind of in awe. Like holy shit, this like GM appeared in front of me with their GM robes. They look badass as fuck, and like other people could see them as well. So I thought that was kind of cool too. It made it like a little more personal, like a little personal touch to it. But now it's literally a ticket system, so you'll always just get a PM in game or a ticket on their official website. I mean, ultimately, as long as it works. Also, I noticed that like I remember I think I had to contact the GM once in FF14, and I realized how much easier it is to get player support in a game that you pay for. You play Final Fantasy 14, you play World of Warcraft, because you pay a monthly fee. Like there is a built-in system to reach out to support, and they will get back to you pretty quickly, right? But you're playing like Maple Story, you're playing like fucking Aura Kingdom or something. You gotta talk to a GM. Good luck, bro. Like support is not nearly as like well handled. It might take a long time. It may never happen. So it's, I guess, playing a game that you pay for. Even like buy to play game, I'm sure like ESO and stuff will be pretty good with it too. Like any game you actually pay for up front, I think it quickly gets you at least better support.
That's true. And actually, I watched another video that was popular this week about a guy trashing on Anarchy Online. He's saying how everyone's hacking, there's no support, even though there's. And by the way, Anarchy Online is supposedly in maintenance mode, right, by Funcom. But here's the thing: they're still charging a monthly subscription. And I think that's unfair. Like if you're gonna charge people money, like you said, Omar, you gotta offer service. And I think the fact that Funcom is obviously so overwhelmed by Secret World and Conan Exiles right now that they cannot provide any support for Anarchy Online. They should make it free to play. They clearly.
But a real question.
Yeah.
Can Conan Exiles have more than 30 players on the server yet?
No way.
I'm gonna look right now. Conan Exiles official servers.
While looking for that, actually. This, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, marked the release of Secret World Legends on Steam. So they launched a month before on their own site, and just a few days ago, they are officially on Steam now.
Oh, wow. And what's the Steam player base like?
Well, let's find out. Secret World Legends, Steam.
Actually, on that note, official servers for Conan Exiles are still only supporting 40 players. All right, so no surprise there.
Oh, so what do you think of these numbers? We haven't seen them before. Playing 1 minute ago, 2,700. 24-hour peak, 3,700.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. But what's weird to me is that like the launch numbers for Black Squad are so much higher. Like I'm curious why Black Squad had 13,000 peak. It's literally the same lobby-based shooter we've seen 20 plus times. And at least Secret World Legends, it seemed like there's more to it. It's even if you don't like it, there's a lot more to it. It's weird that like maybe I don't know, just more people are willing to play random shitty shooters, I guess.
Yeah, here's the thing too with Secret World. I feel like maybe they went too much towards streamlining it because one, there's no loot. There's literally no loot. Like there's no mob loot or anything. Instead, quests and dungeons reward you like a one piece of gear, like random. And then the way you equip your equipment is by eating your other gear. Like you feed your gun other guns to get stronger. So
makes sense.
So stats don't like actually matter on your weapon because it's you're just feeding that one weapon you got level 1 basically. It's a really weird system. I don't know if I like it. Yeah, and obviously you got to pay. You only get 5 I believe it's 5 dungeon loots a day. So after every boss, there's like a treasure chest, right? Free reward. Mm-hmm. But you can only open like 5 a day if you're a free player. Otherwise, you got to buy keys for them from the cash shop.
Ruh-roh.
Now, the weirdest thing about the system is a dungeon usually has 6 bosses. So it tricks you. You're supposed to not loot one or two of the trash, mob loots, like the trash boss loots. You're supposed to
just save it for the last boss.
Exactly.
One of your spots.
Exactly. So if you don't know that, the one thing you can't loot is your second dungeon of the day. It's final boss.
That's pretty tricky. I know. I remember when you played Neverwinter, you get those lock boxes, and they go, "Oh, cool! I found this like epic looking lock box. Oh wait, I can't open it unless I pay real life money." It kind of teases you by having it in front of you. And if you're a new player and you're just doing the Secret World Legends, you do a dungeon, you basically open every chest you get, and you get to the last one like, "Shit, I can't open this one. It's the last boss. I gotta open it." And then they get you, and you end up spending money.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess it's been done. This this trick has been
model.
done. With that said, the game is free. It's one of those games that got a lot of love, like cult love from underground audience when it first came out. It's free now. There's no mandatory subscription. There's no retail price. Try it. Here's what. If you like those old adventure games, you might like the story and visuals in this one.
Cool. All right, let's take it to the Blade install. Actually, this is, I think, one of the only MMORPGs that use crowdfunding to fund their esports prize pool, which I thought was pretty cool. So they had a world championship for their PvP, and anyone that bought these Lotus items, it would go, I think, like 75% of the prize pool. And then they bought like these secondary items, it was like 25% or something, and they raised like $320,000 into their prize pool, which I thought was really neat.
Wow.
And this is an MMORPG doing it. We've seen MOBAs, and League tried something. Dota 2 is probably the best known for doing this. I mean, Dota 2 raised like crazy, like over $10 million.
Yeah, we got to talk about that after this. Like how much Dota's raising.
Yeah, I haven't seen the current TI prize pool. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, there's a lot of stuff happening to Blade and Soul. What's funny is actually they're doing server mergers, but they're not calling them server mergers. They're calling them, I think, consolidation. All right? They're not merging, they're consolidating, guys.
I love it. I think Arcade is doing the same exact thing. They're doing these aren't server mergers. They're server evolutions.
Evolution. I like that. That one's even better. Consolidation could be negative, but when you say evolution, it sounds like it's getting better. It's evolving.
That's funny.
That's pretty funny. But beyond that, they're adding. They hinted at a new class coming to Blade and Soul as well as some other goodies. I haven't played Blade and Soul in a while. I have it downloaded though. Like I kind of want to play it again because I remember I had a lot of fun with Blade and Soul. I remember like. It was one of those games I kind of wanted to buy a costume in. Like, I wanted to spend money because I enjoyed the game a lot. I wanted to give this some money. Mm-hmm. And when I'm looking at the cash app, it was so expensive that I'm like, fuck, I can't justify spending $20 for a costume. So I ended up spending nothing. But I wanted to give them money because I enjoyed the game so much. But I couldn't. $20 is too much for me. Can't do it.
Well, don't you know? It's all about macro transactions now. Microtransactions are so yesterday.
I'm trying to think. I wonder what game got the ball rolling on like the whole auction house. Like you can sell premium items on the auction house, because I know Blade and Soul got so much shit for it. I know Black Desert got some shit for it when they started doing it too. But now literally every game kind of does it.
I want to say the game that did it out of the gate was Neverwinter, right? That Cryptic was kind of on the ball with that, where you could kind of trade the currency in game.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, you could do. Yeah, you're right. They were doing it too.
Yeah, I think Neverwinter kind of got that started.
Somebody said Guild Wars. Yeah, Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 had it as well. We've seen Eve has the Plesk system as well, but how long did they have that? And WoW copied it as well with the tokens eventually. So ultimately, in a lot of these games, you can pay for in-game currency with real life money, as you can with Albion Online as well. You can buy gold through AlbionOnline.com, and you can sell it in game for currency. So that game also has a built-in system where you can literally buy as much in-game currency as you want from the game company itself through this exchange system. But I think ultimately, like, it's not necessarily. I don't think it's a bad thing ultimately, because people were doing the RMT anyway. Mm-hmm. Having it within the self-contained system, I think is a win-win for everyone, because it was happening anyway. I mean, anyone that says like it ruined the game, it's nonsense, because everyone was already buying gold anyway. You just pretend it wasn't there if you want, but it was happening. So I'd rather at least the company benefit from it than not benefit. I know Spiral Knights had it. Somebody mentioned that. It's pretty cool.
So wait.
So how much money did?
Okay, how much money did Dota raise?
Yeah.
All right, let's find out. Here we go. Putting it up here. All right, so the way Dota's prize pool works every year is they release this compendium, like digital book in Dota 2. It costs $10 to buy, but then to level it up, you have to either play games or pay more money. And then the more you level it up, the more rewards you get in game. So what a lot of people end up doing is people spend like $1,000 leveling up their book.
Why? What do they get for leveling it up?
Like every X levels you get a new chest with new gear, and then every like 50 levels you get like a special border or something. And like there are some pretty expensive rewards. Like some rewards don't start till like a couple hundred levels in. So the only way to actually get them is to either pay or just grind like crazy all day long for like months. But I know people on my friends list are like level 400, 500, which means they must have spent hundreds, like close to $500 on the book. Anyway, so the 25% of the money people spend on this book goes to the prize pool. So that brings up to this year's total to $23 million.
Holy crap. That's quite a bit more. Last year was 20 million, right?
Yeah, they're ahead of last year.
Holy, $23 million prize pool. That's insane. Like, is there any like actual, like if your team wins the Super Bowl, like do you win a cash prize? Is there a cash prize for Super Bowl?
I don't know, but the Super Bowl guys are getting way more than this. If that's where you're going,
obviously, because they get sponsorships and stuff too.
Not even their base salaries are millions. Like
yeah. I'm curious. Is there a cash prize for winning the Super Bowl?
While you look that up, so they distribute. They show you the breakdown of that $23 million prize pool. So the team that gets first place. By the way, this tournament is like I think next week. So in 1 week or so, the Dota 2 World Championships will be going on. And the first prize team of 5 people will split $10 million. So that's crazy. That's $2 million per player on the winning team. Isn't like that? What is the whole price? What is like how much does number 1 get in League of Legends?
Like nothing. They're splitting like $1 million. You split like 200. Everyone gets like 200K.
Yeah.
It's you're winning over 10 times the money in Dota 2. And that just shows you like how much people like. It's actually a pretty good trade-off for players too, because it's not like you're not just buying something just to support esports. You also get the compendium, which gives you a shit ton of like fun rewards in game and something to work towards. So it's a really well thought out system. But like you'd think League would do it by now, but they haven't done it just yet. And I did find the number, by the way. If you're a winning team in Super Bowl, you win from the NFL on top, your regular salary and shit, right? You get a bonus of $107,000 each for each player.
Oh, well, that's something.
The losing team gets $53K. But like, yeah, you win so much money in Dota 2 if you go pro and you end up winning this one thing. Like, with how big sponsorships are and stuff too. Like winning for a lot of League players and a lot of esports players in general, like prize money is decent, but most of their earnings come from their salary or sponsorships. But in Dota, if you end up going to the finals in Dota 2 in international and you win, that's $2 million. Maybe like the top player in every the top like 2 guys make that kind of money a year. Like I would argue probably the best League players don't make $2 million a year. Like counting all their sponsorships and everything, count everything they make, and they probably don't make $2 million a year. But if you win TI, boom, $2 million, easy.
Boom. If the team pays you. Apparently, it's a big ongoing issue in esports, guys, where even when a team wins like a big tournament, the team owners or whatever just never pay out to the players.
How does that happen? That seems like so sketch. I've read horror stories about that too on Reddit all the time. And you think with like how I guess more developed the esports scene is now, like this scummy behavior just stops happening. But nope, I read about it all the time.
Oh, someone in chat asked, so this is a great opportunity for me to trash League of Legends. Is Dota pay to win? No, it's actually not pay to win at all. You can't buy heroes. All heroes are unlocked for everyone, level 1 and right away. There's no runes, masteries, rune pages. The only thing you can buy with money is cosmetics. Period. So there's no pay for convenience. There's no pay for to win. Nothing like that.
Whereas in League you do have to buy the heroes and the rune pages and all that jazz. But yeah, I do like the model for Dota 2 the best. I mean, even HOTS, right? Not everything is free. You have to unlock the heroes and stuff. I think Dota is probably the most fair model for free-to-play users. And despite that, they make so much money. Again, you want to do the reverse calculation on that. They got 23 million, right?
Okay, yes. And of that, Valve puts in 1.6. So the amount that was actually raised by people buying the digital book was 21 million.
So 21 million, right? That means that's only
25%.
That's only 25%. So they had to raise 84 million. So they made profit over $60 million, literally from just the compendium sales. 60 million. That is insane. That's probably how much, like, oh my god, that's so much money. And Dota 2 is a big game, but it's not like that big, right? When we're talking about, I think we had a number for Dota 2, I think, a couple of years ago, how much money they made. But I would argue that what they made just in compendium sales, their revenue from there is a big portion of their entire yearly revenue.
Yes.
And it's amazing.
Yes, and Super Dad actually did mention that. This usually, actually, Dota 2 has been off the top 10 monthly revenue games for PC. But this month in June, they were 5th place, which means they made more money than World of Warcraft in June of 2017. And the reason for that, as Super Data noted here, is that the TI digital subscription or compendium sales boosted it by a lot.
Yeah, holy crap! Dota's number 5 on that list.
Yeah, so this won't be after this month. This is not going to be the case anymore, guys. Dota, I think, will fall off this list.
Definitely.
Yeah.
People are saying 300 Heroes best MOBA. I agree, especially when we go back to my metric of fun per megabyte. All right, 300 Heroes is a great game. I want to play more of that later. Quality game. I really wish it came out in America. The ping in China is kind of a disaster. Kind of a deal breaker though.
You know what's funny? So I had a friend over from high school, right? He was in town, and we hung out. And he used to play games, but now he's got a real job. So he plays games very sparingly. Once in a while, he'll play WoW with his old friends. And he even told me he only has about 2 hours a week to play games. So for fun, I showed him this list of the top 10 grossing PC games for the month. And he knows what League of Legends is. He used to play that. But then he's like, "What's Crossfire?" So I showed him a trailer, like a gameplay trailer, right? And obviously, it's not a very good-looking game, right? So he was like baffled. How can this make so much money? Like, this makes more money than World of Warcraft. What is Crossfire? So I'm like, I'm not done. Let's look at number 3. So I showed him a trailer for Fantasy Westward Journey Online. He's like, and obviously the game looks awful too. Like, how can people play this? How can this make more money than World of Warcraft? I never heard of this. Then I showed him Dungeon Fighter Online, another game he hasn't heard of. And this also makes more money than World of Warcraft. I showed him the trailer for that. He's like, I think Chinese people just like bad games. So that was fun. I always love blowing people's minds.
Let me show you the Fantasy Westward Journey. All right, this is quite a game.
All right,
this is their official trailer, actually.
Oh, let me see this.
Well, this is the original one. This is Fantasy Westward Online 2. Let me put on number. First show off the OG version. All right.
All right. Oh man, this looks like a really bad mobile game.
It looks so old.
But look how popular it is. It's like loaded in this,
I'm trying to find a good video for Fantasy Westward Online Journey 2. I'm on their official website. I'll find the video on here for sure.
Okay, I think this guy's the one you're seeing now. I believe it came out in 2004. So 2004. This game is.
It kind of looks like Conquer. You are right. It does look like Conquer Online. Okay, so I can't find any videos for the second one, but it's odd because even though it's called Fantasy Westward Journey Online 2, like the second version of the game, the graphics have not gotten any better. It still looks like Conquer Online, doesn't it?
You don't mess with perfection, all right?
I guess so, because I couldn't find the video for it, but I did find that.
I think it's the exact same game. It's just like an updated version or something.
But this game is like one of the highest grossing MMORPGs in the world. Despite being this old.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, and then I showed him a trailer for Roblox. That game is also Roblox is making more money than Overwatch. I know I mentioned this last week as well, but I really blew his mind. So that was fun.
So it's called this game has 250 million registered users worldwide and has more than 500 servers. The concurrent users reached 2.71 million in 2012. That was the peak in 2012. But 500 servers is pretty nutty.
Quite nutty.
Right, you have Nexus as well. Nexus was a fun game. Kingdom of the Winds. I think there's a third version of this Fantasy Westward Journey as well, but there's no. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of those old games, a lot of the games on that list, don't look particularly great visually. But again, it does go to show that you got to make sure your game works on people's computers to do well. And if Crossfire had great graphics, I don't think it would do well because it wouldn't run very well. Well, I'm surprised that PUBG is doing so well, despite having the optimization issues and still not running really well on bad PCs just yet.
I have a quick
That
story.
game still makes a lot of money.
I have a quick story I want to talk about. So this one actually I found on Vice. So the reason my friend was in town this week actually was this convention. There's a hacker convention called DEF CON. And this guy gave a talk this year. And this man made his living for 20 years by hacking MMORPGs. That's how he made his living. And
Pretty badass.
Yeah, he actually knew like exploits in all the big games. And he would just sell basically in-game currency that he would dupe or whatnot. So one thing, basically in WildStar, he mentions WildStar, he has infinite money. Like he literally has like 18 quintillion money that he just duped in the game. And whenever he finds a buyer for it, he sells it for whatever.
That's why WildStar collapsed. This guy killed WildStar with his dupes, all right?
Yeah, he got to start in Ultima Online. I mean, just reading the story, I kind of just I follow his progression. He started with Ultima Online. He played Dark Age of Camelot, and he knew a cheat or exploit in Dark Age of Camelot where if you log out in a certain way, you would actually duplicate your character. So you'd have two of the same character. And he would just strip one of all its gear and its money, then like delete it and do it again. So he kept duping. So he basically had infinite money in Dark Age of Camelot, WildStar, and here's a funny thing. He made a living like this for 20 years, right? And you know why he stopped? Because he did retire. He said, I stopped because the game companies themselves started competing with me. So he didn't feel bad about selling in-game gold when the company running the game was not doing that. They were just doing a subscription and you can do whatever you want, right? But he said when the game started offering currency in-game, like directly from the publisher or developer, right? He felt like then he was like doing something morally wrong because now he's competing with the actual developer for the same product they're selling.
So yeah, he didn't want to hurt the developer that way, right?
Yeah, I guess in the past he figured, look, if they're not going to monetize RMT, it's open for me. But when they started doing that, he said, well, now I'm taking away their lunch. So now he's a consultant. Yeah. So he's still in it.
It says he sold about 100 houses in Ultima Online for an average price of about $2,000. So he sells castles in Ultima back in the day. Yeah. He made $200,000 selling castles in Ultima Online. That's a lot of money, 200G.
Yeah, apparently he had an exploit where he could just delete people's houses. Like it's amazing that they don't, these things don't get caught.
You would think after people start complaining about that, like they'd start monitoring like all the houses, and, like all the ones that get deleted, and see what happened. If they got deleted naturally, or it got like bugged out. But you would think when you would think that like these like how much money you have in a game, right? Like whether it's World of Warcraft, if it's WildStar, literally every game, right? The values for how much money you have are stored in a database somewhere, right? And that database must be like viewable and sortable. That's how Excel sheets and databases work. Once in a while, all developers have to do is pull up the entire database of how much money exists in the game per character, sort by highest to lowest, and if a number sticks out, like this guy's got 10 quadrillion gold, wait a minute, what's going on over here? And start looking into it.
It seems so obvious, but obviously it probably isn't that obvious. Like there probably isn't a good UI for it. I don't know.
But on a command prompt, some kind of like you bring up a database, just sort the top 10 people with the most gold.
Just call IBM. Just call IBM. They'll figure it out.
Call IBM. Get the mainframe going. Look, it's stored in a database somewhere. It must be, and it's got to be viewable. It just seems like every game should just do that once in a while, and you would fix dupes. That would stop because duping can really destroy an in-game economy. And one of the magical, fun experiences in MMORPGs are the fact that it exists in this shared, persistent universe, and the way the economy works in that game. If it gets completely destroyed, there goes one of the reasons to play that. For somebody that trades a ton, buying and sell, buy low, sell high. I love doing that in games. I love accumulating in-game money because it's fun. It's a form of progression in the game that I love doing. So if an economy is shit and it just doesn't work, it's a no-go. It's a no-muss.
I mean, it's an interesting read. I dropped a link earlier. If you guys are interested in this aspect of gaming, it's worth the read. What I found interesting was how careful he was to keep his things on a down low. He never advertised himself. He would just sell to wholesalers and stuff because he didn't want the company to find out what he's doing, obviously, because then his gravy train is over. So he kept things under the radar enough that he didn't get caught.
Smart.
Yeah.
God bless hackers. Nice. That's pretty crazy though. That'd be nice to make a living doing like some kind of MMO stuff. There you go, MMOs.com. But right nowadays, if you want to make your living playing games, you gotta be a really good streamer. or content creator or website maker. That's like the only avenue. Going pro in esports is not.
Or you need really good assets if you're gonna stream. You know.
Yes, you gotta have some nice titties if you want to do it as well. Look, people always make fun of those booby girls. You would do it too. You'd all do it if you could. All right. You'd all do it. Like that, 100%.
Look at me.
That's why
I'm sitting here with a fez and a plushie on my head like an asshole. Let's try to get some views. If I had boobies, they'd be sticking out.
Same.
All right, well, with that said, I think we're ready for the post game. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned a lot.
And we'll talk about the cleavage cams in the post game. And if you guys would whore yourselves, I know you would. We'd all do it.
Oh yeah, I would be very excited to do that. But you'll have to wait till the post game to hear more about that. So take it easy, YouTube. Try to catch us live next time. You too can be part of the experience.
Later, YouTube.